the parties have reached a new 6-year term, so that will commence January 1st, 2024 through December 31st of 2029. The compensation model is very similar to what the current agreement calls for. So with regards to base adjustment, it would be limited to CPI adjustments based on the current calculation method. Really, the most major substantive change is that the district will make a life contribution policy premium contribution for 5 of the 6 years. And a copy of the agreement is also before the board and a member of the public. And staff is happy to entertain any questions from the board before approving this item.
All right. Do we have any questions? All right. I'm not seeing any questions. I think we've got the recommendation in front of us.
I make the motion to follow the recommendation.
So there's two resolutions, one adopting the amended district salary schedule and approving adjustments to the general manager's compensation, and a second resolution approving and authorizing execution of employment contract for the position of general manager. Do we need to do that in 2 motions, or can we do that in 1? Do you know, Christopher or Christine?
I move that we adopt resolution next in order. 1, resolution adopting amended district salary schedule and approving adjustment to general manager's compensation effective January 1, 2023, and resolution approving and authorizing execution of employment contract for the position of general manager. Clemens H. Heldmeyer.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. This vote will be on approving both resolutions at the same time. Okay, just so we're all clear. Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's do a roll call vote, please. Director Decker.
Aye.
Director Slater-Carter.
Yes.
Director Sofsky.
Aye.
Director Young.
Aye.
And Director Boyd votes aye. All right, I'd like to thank Clemens and the committee and Christopher and Christine. This is important to get right and to do well, and I really appreciate the teamwork involved in getting all through this.
If I can say that the board has been in agreement on all of this without really any disagreement. Clemens has particularly in the last year with all the trouble going on at SAM and all the weather and all the problems at MWSD, Clemens has built a phenomenal crew. He's taking care of the sort of future needs of the district in a well-advised and forethought with a great deal of forethought. And this community is very lucky and fortunate to have Clemens here looking after our treasure water and sewer district. This is the only locally elected group from Montara and Moss Beach, Twin Cities. And it is as successful as it is because we have such good staff from the leadership team. And so thank you. It was a pleasure. And Clemens, I've known you for 23 years or something, and you have always stood by this district and been a dedicated member of the community, and thank you very much. And we know where you live, so you're indentured.
She keeps trying to work that into the contract. You will notice that's not literally in the contract.
You don't like corporate control of someone else.
Yeah, that's right. It's okay when we do it. Is that all right? So thanks to everybody. All right. That is all of our new business. Let's go to reports. Sewer Authority.
Sewer Authority, well, October 5th, 9:30 in the morning is going to be the hearing. So people can Zoom in or attend. It's going to be in Santa Clara, so it's going to be a bit of a drive. will be interesting to see when the decision finally comes out. Half Moon Bay has had the opinion it will be within 45 days, but the law allows up to 90. So we shall see what happens. As chair, I've been trying to get a performance review and raise for Keishan, who has seen the district through some incredibly tough times, has built and maintains a superior crew. But somehow Half Moon Bay and Renata can't get around to working with Christopher to get this done. It's going to be on the agenda again on Monday night. Somehow, without talking to me, and without talking to Keishan, and without talking to Peter, Renata and Half Moon Bay decided they would change Keishan's performance review from every year to every other year and skip this year's. This was not an open discussion. It was not a agenda item. It was not even, no balloons were flown testing it. It just all of a sudden came up, was announced in closed session, and Renata and Half Moon Bay walked out of the closed session.
Walked out.
Walked out.
So
So Monday will be interesting. I am hoping this will get resolved, because when we get the judge's decision, and I am optimistic, given the odds, that they will not be changing the odds from the judgment from the trial court. If the SAM board pulls together, we can get going on the long delayed capital improvement program with an experienced manager and an experienced crew and solid engineers who understand the system. And so that's my hope. That's what I'm working towards. And I invite everybody to watch the meeting on Monday night. It's on Zoom. Or you can come to Sam in Half Moon Bay. It's not nearly as far as Santa Clara.
all right. See, do we have anyone for Midcoast Community Council?
Well,
I'm not seeing Greg here.
I could report because I attended
Okay.
virtually.
Please.
The only thing they did, it was a special meeting. That was Wednesday. They talked about their letter and their cover letter for sending in the EIR, the draft EIR response, and it's 68 pages or something.
Their letter?
Yeah, their response to the draft EIR.
Good.
I know, and we need to get ours in if it hasn't already gone in, because like they said at the traffic meeting, it's, if they go ahead and merge the Carlos and 16th Street to make a big intersection there. We have infrastructure there, but there's our tanks are on that property too. They were talking about maybe building some extra parking, and they don't know where the water lines are. And I'm like, anyway, but that was at a different meeting. That was at the Coastside Design Review meeting, which I also attended at
the meeting on the roadway changes for Moss Beach.
Highway 1.
Clemens. Yes, Highway 1 in Moss Beach. Clemens and Tim were talking to one of the engineers and about our infrastructure, and they were being very polite. So I decided to help things along. I think it's better to be direct than polite. I was trying to get the engineer to make a commitment that if it was going to affect any of our lines, that it would be covered in the construction. He kept hedging and saying, well, maybe, we just don't know.
And it was noted that Caltrans wasn't even at that meeting.
Right.
Was it Ramsey Hisson you guys talked with? He's from San Ramon.
I have
They
no idea who it was.
Consultants that come from
there,
Out of town.
there were a whole bunch of them, and yes, they're usually out of town, and they bring in a different perspective than those of us who live here. But my concern is, for this district, is we have a lot of infrastructure around there. And some of what they are considering may damage our pipelines because they are old and near the surface.
Well, that's when to get standing is to put a comment letter in for their drop DIR.
Right, well, and
Due Monday.
I don't think, well, the Highway 1 project in Moss Beach is not part of the affordable housing project.
Well, it's to accommodate them, from my understanding.
It is not a part.
Right.
So, but I believe you are correct. And I think folks should go online and send a note saying they have not put in adequate stormwater controls to protect the marine reserve.
Totally true.
If you are interested in seeing what adequate stormwater or protections for the our marine reserve, look at what the harbor district has had to go through just to dredge the harbor. It all of a sudden has to take care of eelgrass. It's taken more than 10 years. They keep adding new conditions. We finally got the permit there, but we need, as a community, to stand up and protect the Fitzgerald Marine Reserve.
So the other thing they covered on the MCC was just a brief comment about at some future point, they're going to talk about the damage to the Montara Mountain when they illegally, I believe, or beyond the scope of they didn't take out an EIR. They claimed it was an emergency to grade those roads. You know what I'm talking about, right, Clemens?
Mhm.
So they talked about that, but it's on a future meeting. They only briefly covered it last night or Wednesday night.
Okay.
Last night.
All
That's
right,
it for MCC.
thank you. Anything for CSDA or LAFCO?
Yes, we have a local in charge of the CSDA in San Mateo County CSDA. It's Jim Pruitt, who is the general manager of the Harbor District. And I think he's going to be an awesome chair. So we're going to be having more meetings and more communication. As far as LAFCO, the meeting was yesterday. The news there is the Broadmoor Police District is declaring bankruptcy.
Gee.
They're small, they don't have money. The costs have been going up, the cost of overtime, the cost of employment, all of those costs, and they are not able to raise money. So that will probably be swallowed up into Daly City. And the other one is that the East Palo Alto Sanitary District, which has had its own set of financial problems, is going to become a subsidiary district of the city of East Palo Alto. I don't think it's the best solution, but it is one of those things where that's just the way it is going to be. LAFCO, and by the way, LAFCO's job is to consolidate things into cities, special districts into cities. So it's doing its job. I can't say whether it's a good job, but or good for this community, but it is what it is.
Okay, thank you.
It's not on the agenda, but I have to report on one shoreline, but when you're done.
You can do that in the director's reports.
It's in the director's report?
Item number 6 under reports is director's reports, and we'll get there.
Okay.
Christine, attorney's report?
No attorney's report.
Okay, thank you. Now, director's reports. I understand Director Young has something to contribute.
Okay, I attended the Zoom One Shoreline meeting, and they're talking about SFO and armoring their, area there, which is really San Mateo County, but I guess they're going to have the airport fund a bond for that. The other thing is, I asked because nobody brought it up. there's talk of a government shutdown, saber rattling, or maybe will happen, but I don't think, I asked if any districts had gotten any of their FEMA funding from the earlier storms, and they said nobody had yet. I don't know if that means we should start rattling cages to try to get it, but they did assure us that those kind of big government things stayed running. So
Okay.
I don't know if we'll get it sooner rather than later, but I could see it stalling because of that.
Thank you. General Manager's report.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. I also wanted to thank our staff for the extra effort that was done last month. The 65th was just part of, I think, a particularly heavy month for us because there is, of course, Labor Day at the beginning of September, vacations, etc. Some additional, some sick time, etc. That led to also some additional staff work. On top of that, we of course have to still catch up on the meter changeouts, batteries, etc. That's of course something that is also currently active, and it is the time where we expect our first rain, where the soil currently in September it dries out particularly, and then we see the rains. That's the time when we get leaks. And I think this may have started already. We had a number of leaks already last week and this week to deal with. So just want to point out that this time is very laborious for our staff at the moment. Also wanted to briefly talk about the about Monday's meeting from the county about the Highway 1 improvements. And I think it's actually great that the county is looking at improving Highway 1. I'm curious to hear why actually the local citizens are paying. Local county is local. Why is actually not Caltrans paying for this? Why is Sanitary County paying for this? But in essence, I think the improvements are however they're going to look like. It is very important that we get improvements to Highway 1. What concerned me very much at the meeting was the timeline, because we're talking about 10 years. If I understood this correctly, that means that in 10 years, we're going to see a shovel going in the ground. So the implementation, I'm just going to freely add on another 5 years. And with that, I'm going to say traffic improvements are one thing, but the actual purpose for this whole exercise, second purpose, is safety.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to give the county a clear F on their efforts on safety, because 15 years from now, improvements is outrageous, I have to say. There is only one thing, and that is what I, besides, of course, protecting our facilities in this process, as citizen attending this meeting, I have only one comment, and that is that they have to start immediately a second process that is described in the Highway Safety Code to reduce the speed limit.
Yes.
It's very simple, a no-cost solution, get the speed limit down, and that as soon as possible. So I asked everybody who participates in these meetings to make the same comments and push for an immediate change of the speed limit. We understand it's a process. We understand it's separate from what's going on right now, but it's something that the county can do very simple and very easy and very cost effective.
Thank you. That's they've done us a favor by informing us of their timeline, so that clearly provides impetus to find something sooner to deal with the very obvious safety problem that has taken quite a human toll already.
Yes.
Sid?
They took over a decade to complete their Connect the Coast Side plan. They called it their comprehensive traffic management plan. And yet none of it's funded. So I guess they're going to try to fund the Highway 1 segment once this report that they're gathering all this information for gets completed. So if anybody has comments, they really should send them in. I think the two project planners, one is named Chandra Singh and the other one is Katie Faulkner at the county. But they need to hear from residents because I mean, it is ridiculous. I mean, we know a lot of us knew Harold and he was killed on his bicycle. It wasn't like he was a young kid and he didn't know how to ride a bike on a highway. It just was a freak accident. But at the same time, they haven't even bothered to put up K-rail or anything to separate the highway from pedestrians and cyclists since that time. And that was a year ago. So I'm pathetically sick. And behind me in the meeting was sitting Jeff Peck. And when I mentioned that, you know, they let Big Wave out of funding the signal at Cypress and Highway 1, and he's already broken ground, he pipes in and says, well, can't we put in a temporary traffic light there? You know, it's like, dude, you pulled your money out. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, go on.
All right. We now have some closed session items. Conference with legal counsel on existing litigation, Half Moon Bay. Yeah, and also two potential cases of initiation of litigation. If we take any action that's reportable, we will report that out after we come out of closed session. I'd like to thank everyone for joining in tonight and watching online, and we really appreciate the participation. As we've said many times, we do better as more people participate, and we really appreciate the help. It is a team effort. So thank you, everybody. And we are going to go into recess to give PCT time to tear down.
Yes,
Thanks, Jim.
question, Scott.
Wait till we're clear. Can you give us an all
Thanks,
clear
Chris.
signal? Can you give us an all clear? Okay. Okay, thank you.
I got it. I texted